Well, everyone, Al Branca here with another installment of your Monday Night Agent webinar series. Appreciate you joining us tonight and spending a piece of your Monday evening. A lot of new people I'm seeing online tonight. Thanks for joining us. And for those who have been with us for a while, you know this, but we do it every Monday night, and we try to keep them real brief. So tonight's going to be especially short, not a lot of content in tonight's segment, but hopefully some good takeaways. Just a couple of reminders. We announced on last Monday night's call that our GBR Plus program will increase in price from $12.95 to $19.95 effective on December 1st. But also with that, your commissions will go from $3.50 to $8. So anyone that's grandfathered in, though, that has the plan now or signs up prior to 12/1 will stay at $12.95. We won't increase them across the board, but moving forward, you know, we as a management team took a look at the marketplace and our competition, and at $19.95, that's still about $20 less than our closest competitor for all those comparable products. And we believe that it'll get even more traction because when you sell it too low, well, people don't see enough value in it. So we're hoping that $19.95 will kickstart this thing, and we'll see some more traction, especially the fact that you're going to have more commissions in your pocket, $8 as opposed to $3.50 per plan per month. We'll have new marketing and enrollment forms loaded in your back office probably midnight of the night before, just so you'll have it there and be able to offer that. We don't want to start pushing that price out just yet because you do have a window of opportunity to still sell that program, the Plus program, for $12.95 up until 12/1. We also sent out an email this week that announced that Walgreens is purchasing Rite Aid. And I get a lot of questions on how will that affect us. Well, guess what? It won't affect us at all, at least in a negative way, because we have contracts with both pharmacy chains. And if anything, it may help us because usually when markets contract and competition lessens, prices go up. So, you know, our card can be more invaluable moving forward than it is today. So, healthcare reform, you know, any change brings opportunity, and quite honestly, and I tell people this all the time, we didn't know how it's going to affect our business model, Obamacare, until it got signed into law. And what's happened, it's actually created a huge window of opportunity for us and really created a perfect storm. As I've mentioned in the past, in just the last year, the average copay has increased 34%, and now most people, or a lot more than before, are in a higher deductible plan. And if you're relatively healthy, you'll be paying retail for everything I should say, including prescription medication, for the whole year, unless something catastrophic happens and you happen to hit that threshold or that out-of-pocket deductible. So that said, we have our normal perfect partnerships with industries we have synergies with, like healthcare, obviously working with pharmacies, nonprofits, insurance brokers. But really, in today's environment, our products are really prime to help any business out there. So tonight, it's all about business to business, B2B. And our agenda this evening, we'll talk about healthcare reform and how it's really affected businesses. You know, at the very least, there's tons of confusion in the marketplace, and confusion, once again, creates opportunity. The more you can know about the ACA or the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare, whichever you want to call it, the more credible you're going to sound. And also, people are experiencing extremely high healthcare costs. So we'll talk about how the ACA affects not only employers, but basically all the insured, where and how we fit in as a company with our products, our approach to both small and large firms, and then we'll have the weekly Q&A. And if you have any questions, it doesn't have to be on tonight's topic. I see there's tons of new people on the call, so I'm sure some of you folks might have questions just in general about the business or our products. So we'll field those questions at the very end. And as I mentioned, it's not a long segment at all tonight. So Obamacare, it affects businesses differently by size because under 50 employees, there is no mandate that you have to provide insurance. And that creates a really great window of opportunity for us because if you have an employer with under 50 employees, there's a pretty good chance they don't offer health benefits, and they don't. Well, obviously, they can use our card and some of our voluntary products. For companies over 50 in size, they need to offer coverage or be hit with tax penalties. Now, this only accounts for full-time employees. Massachusetts has had its own version of Obamacare for a couple of years now, and when it became law in that state, most employers put everybody at 29 hours, so everybody became part-time, and that was their, I guess, loophole to get out of that mandate. So definition of a full-time worker is basically someone who works 30-plus hours a week, or what is it, 1,560 hours a year, or 130 hours per month. Anything under that is considered part-time and is not really in that mandate for Obamacare or healthcare reform. They don't have to provide health insurance, and a lot of people have made their folks part-time, or at least a portion of their staff. We'll talk about, the number of small employers. That is a huge market out there. Over 16.5 million small businesses operating right here in the United States, employing over 176 million people. Obviously, the number of large employers are smaller, but they hire almost the same amount of people. 5.8 million large employers here in the United States operating today. So the average cost of insurance premiums this year hit over $16,000, and that's a nice jump from last year, and there's no ceiling in place either. I mean, things are going to keep rising. There's really no cap on this. The average worker is paying about $4,500 towards the cost of their coverage. That's according to the Kaiser Family Foundation. These are all good facts to know, because if you have 20 employees and you multiply that by, $16,000, that's a big nut. So yeah, why do health insurance rates keep going up? Because they can. That's why, Mr. Einstein. Insurance premium moving forward. Well, this article appeared just this past July in the New York Times. It was reported that most health insurance companies around the country are seeking rate increases of 20 to 40% or more. And the reason? Well, they're saying new customers that came in under the Affordable Care Act turned out to be sicker than expected. So obviously they had higher health care bills, hospitalization, acute care, things of that nature. The growth in prescription spending had slowed, but last year it soared, and estimates for this year say it's going to be up as well. And that's because a lot more people are now taking medication because a lot more people have insurance, and we have an aging nation as well. So, the boomers are getting older and taking medications on a pretty regular basis. Out-of-pocket spending on hospital and physician care is projected to be lower this year, but increase for prescription medication. You'll see that's a pretty hefty line heading into the 2020s. So our business model is solid, folks. Most people taking prescription medication say they can afford their treatment, but about 1 in 4 or 25% have a difficult time affording their medication. And that's why the facts are the facts. About 30% of all scripts that are written are never filled, and the largest reason is cost. So people need our cards out there. Increasingly, Americans are having problems for paying health care around the clock. 26% report they or a family member had problems paying medical bills in the past year. And get this, 58% of Americans reported foregoing or delaying medical care in just this past year. And you'll see prescription medication is a large part of that wheel. So why would employers listen to us? We're not insurance people. Well, some folks on the call are. No, but we're healthcare reform experts, and we have the products to really soften the blow of healthcare reform. So total U.S. healthcare costs reached $3.8 trillion last year. $3.8 trillion. That is a huge nut. It actually represents 20% of the country's total economic activity. Healthcare alone, 20% of every dollar that's spent goes to some form of healthcare. It's expected to pass $5 trillion by 2022, in just about 7 years from now, which is not quite double, but that's a big jump from $3.8 trillion. Other than salary, health insurance premiums are an employer's largest expense. Let that sink in. Other than salary, health insurance is the employer's largest expense. That's why employers will listen to you if you have a product that can save them money. So what businesses do you call on? Well, it's an easy question. First and foremost, how many business owners do you know? If you sat down and thought about it and wrote a list, you probably know at least 5 to 10 business owners, maybe more, depending on how big your sphere of influence or your circle is. Better yet, how many businesses do you support? Do you patronize? Do you do business with? Do you buy things from? Your pizzeria, dry cleaners, grocery store. You think about every place you go and spend money. They're all prime prospects because you're their customer. And just think about this. How many businesses are just within a 10-mile radius of your home? Unless you're in a very remote area, there's hundreds, if not thousands of businesses, both small and large. So the bottom line is you don't have to look far. There's businesses all around. And the whole gist of this training tonight is you don't have to be industry specific because they all share the same problems, and that's the rising cost of healthcare. So what should your approach be? Well, remember that the size of a business will dictate whether they have to provide health insurance or not. If they're under 50 employees, there's no mandate. So a lot of small employers will not even offer health insurance. If they do, well, they're feeling the bite just as much as big ones. The nice part about small businesses is they're usually a lot easier to engage. Many provide no coverage to their employees at all. There's no gatekeeper. You can deal directly with the owner, the decision maker, and no red tape or legal to deal with, as you do in larger organizations. However, it's not a bad approach going after large firms too. If they have 50 employers or more, they need to offer coverage or be assessed tax penalties. So larger businesses are much harder to actually close and even engage, but they have a much larger revenue potential. Obviously, the more employees, the more people that can be using your card and taking advantage of get benefit relief programs. They don't already provide benefits, so they're familiar with prescription medication and the cost associated with that, as well as maybe dental and vision. And it can lead to a relationship with brokers. Normally, if you're going to go after a large company, they have a third-party administrator, a TPA, or a benefits consultant, or an insurance agent they deal with. But if you can get the interest of HR or maybe someone in management, they can actually guide you to their broker, and that broker could be a potential partner to not only offer those programs to that firm, but all the other companies they deal with as well. So what do you say? Well, you ask for the person responsible for health benefits. If it's a small employer, it's probably going to be the owner. If it's a larger company, they'll have an HR or human resources department that normally handles things like hiring, firing, payroll, and health benefits. You want to use a script from your back office library's business folder. We just actually loaded a new one in there today, and your back office library has this section right here. There's a script for calling on businesses and an employer prospecting script. They're just a little bit different in the approach, but you can take and mold this into your own, take from it what you want. But the bottom line is you want to obviously make sure that you get to the decision maker, and you don't want to waste their time or yours. So a couple of the questions, the first question I always ask is, do you provide benefits? And if yes, my next immediate question is, how much is your generic copays? If it's $10 or more, guess what? That is a prime prospect for you. So this is the one script, and the other one's kind of similar, but you can take them and make them your own. You can, like I always say, plagiarism is the best form of flattery, so plagiarize away. You can use that to your heart's content and create your own, custom script if you'd like. Next, you want to set the appointment. The whole point of calling is to actually set a meeting. If you're doing this on the phone, that is. If you're walking in, small employers are going to be easy to approach. You're never going to get an appointment with anyone in HR in a sizable firm just by knocking on the door. You have to make that phone call, find out who it is, and try to close on that appointment. If they're not available to meet, you definitely want to send an email and some things that you'll certainly want to include from the back office. This is the FAQ. It's a really nice piece that really goes over the typical questions asked about the card. How does it work? How much can I expect to save? Where can I use it? What if I have insurance? Can I still use the card? Absolutely. Who pays for this? And that's the pharmacies. Another good piece is the decision maker. Here's a solution to offset today's high cost of prescription drug copays and deductibles and hold down your out-of-pocket expenses for you and your organization. The old standby as well is the equalizer flyer, which basically says it works if you have insurance or not, and gives examples of how we actually come in lower, in many cases, than a $10 copay. And one I always like to carry is, this comparison piece. It's a matrix that really compares our product against all PBM-based cards. The fact that we own our own network, we negotiate our own contracts, our savings are higher, we work for the insured, pet meds, print card feature in many ways to do that. Our pharmacy search engine, which is award-winning, pill splitting technology, coupons, and we collect no personal information. So that's just a nice differentiator between us and some of our PBM competitors that are out there. So you definitely want to do that. Send them an email with some of those attachments, and you know, you want to put something professional, obviously, in the body of that. And most importantly, you want to follow up. There's no point in sending an email and expect them to call you back, because that ain't happening, folks. So the value proposition for the employer, okay, what's in it for me? First and foremost, it can help employers control expenses. How? Well, a couple of ways. With our discount card, if they have now $20 copays because they want to keep their premiums in check, they can give our card out to each one of their employees. Every time the employee uses that card and it's less than copay, everybody wins. Employee wins. He saves money. The employer benefits because it reduces their claims experience, and claims experience is what drives their premium rates. So if we can eliminate tons of claims because we beat the $20 copay, well, that's going to make renewals easier next year. It provides a wow benefit to the employees, saving the money not only on their medication, but also with our Plus program, it can benefit once again the employee and the employer. For the employee, no out-of-pocket copay for 70% of what ails them. They can get on the phone 24/7, 365 with a U.S. board-certified physician who can diagnose symptoms, talk about treatment options, and call in prescriptions as long as they're not a controlled substance to a local pharmacy. It benefits the employer because, once again, it reduces claims experience. Once again, if someone goes to the doctor and they've got insurance, that hits the claim file for that employer, and that could raise his premiums. It can help reduce claims experience, as mentioned, every time the card's used and wins, and every time someone uses telemedicine or teledoc. It can certainly improve wellness and medication compliance. If someone can better afford their medication, there's a much better chance that they will take it and not skip a day or two because of costs. It can improve employee productivity and retention. We have a couple of temp firms that use our product, and their retention rate has increased 15% in 1 year because the employer pays for it, the employees get it, and they're much likely to stay than leave for a job that maybe pays $1 higher an hour because they're looking at that value of 24/7 access to physicians, discount dental vision, and health advocate piece as well. It can promote brand awareness. If the employer wants to share this with their clients, who they do business with, and their prospects, well, we can brand the card for them, and they can give it not only to the employees, but they can use it as a goodwill leave behind, a door opener, or just a differentiator and a value add. And it can create a potential revenue stream. You can bring an employer on if he's interested as an agent under you. They'll get the overrides. They'll pay for their cards, and everybody's happy at the end of the day. So in summary, healthcare costs are spiraling for all, individuals, employer groups, large and small. Premiums are employers' second largest expense other than salary. Both our card and GBR can help control expenses and provide a tremendous value add. Working with smaller groups is easier, but working with larger groups can be more lucrative and can lead to broker partnerships. And you get a couple of nice-sized brokers under you, you can get some serious volume, especially on the voluntary products, not to mention the cards. So that brings us to our weekly Q&A. And if you haven't been on our call before, you have a dashboard that looks something like this. If you came in via phone, there is an audio pin that you have to actually enter. You'll be able to raise your hand after that, and I'll be able to unmute you. Or if you came in through the computer, then all you need to do is raise your hand, and I will be able to address your question and get you on the air live. So let's see if we have any questions this evening. Looks like Richard Morse has a question. Richard, are you there? Hello, Richard? I guess no, Richard. Let me see here. Search for, I can't read this. It looks like some kind of medication on RxCut today. Listed but would not give a price. Generic listed but no price. Send me an email on that one, and I certainly will. Let me see if I can unmute you there, Howard. Howard, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, the drug is Zegred, and I can't. I'm at a Walmart and I have a client who came in. I can't find any of the Part D plans that cover it, yet it's listed in the RxCut system, as well as the generic is listed in the system, but you can't get a price. Why is it listed in the system then? Could there not be a note there that says this isn't covered, or we don't honor it, or what?
Well, if it's in the system, our card works on all FDA-approved drugs. Is this something new?
I'm not sure. I did call the CSR, and she said that it's listed in the system, but it's $3,000 for a month's supply.
That's the brand, I would assume, right?
Yeah, the Zegrid. But the problem is, this client says that the generic has not been released yet, but yet it's in the system though.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I've got the name of that drug now. I'll make a copy of this. I'll send it out to our clinician and the network people and see if we can get a resolution to that and find out why it's not in there.
Okay.
All righty. Is that the only question you had?
Well, no, just a comment. I actually have been able to hand out some cards, and just was anxious to see if it really does work, and one of them was my own prescription that I used at a different pharmacy, and so I had 2 over the weekend, and hey, it works.
Nice. How much did you save?
Actually, it was a listed drug that was around $20, and I wound up paying 10 something for it. And the other one was an ointment that a customer used at Walmart, and they wound up saving about 40-some%.
Nice, very nice. So now you believe, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Howard, hopefully, did you use your pricing tool before you just went to that pharmacy?
Yeah, yes, I did. And it worked. Yeah, it came out the same.
Wow. Okay. So awesome.
This is and one of them is a small neighborhood pharmacy that I hope to get a branded card in there when they see how it works.
Well, what you need to do there, see if you can set up a call with me. I'd be more than happy to hop on the three-way with them and really explain the benefits of how it can not only help their clients, but them as well as a way to build a brand, and they may be interested in coming on as a sub-agent under you.
Okay, now how do I get in touch with you? The email, because I don't seem to have a phone number to call you.
Well, here I'll give you my cell phone and everyone else on the call as well. 856.
Okay.
856-304-4874.
Okay, thank you.
You got it. Peter Davis is asking, what happened to the drug $1,350 raised to $750 each a few weeks back? Well, there was actually another news story out about that, Peter, and I think they've held off on that because they're getting some really bad press. They were claiming the reason they were raising that price, it was a hedge fund guy who bought the pharmaceutical company, and the first thing he did was raise that price to something outrageous, and it was a drug that people need to live. It has some certain condition. It's really a shame. But I think they got so much bad press, they held off, even though he said the reason he was doing that is to do R&D to make the drug better, and apparently the drug's been out forever, and there's nothing wrong with it at all. Up to how many drugs can we list on the drug tool? I've never, and that's from Gloria, I've never got to the end of that, Gloria. I put in 20-some at one point in time. It just took a few seconds more for it to come back with the findings, but I don't really think there is a limitation. I've been at 22 or 23 before, and my fingers got tired. And let me see if there's any additional questions here. Ken, are you there? Or Carrie? Carrie Levitt?
Hi.
Hello, Carrie?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. How you doing?
I'm good. Last week you couldn't hear me. I'm the one that asked about this, how this works for seniors. Can you just walk me through that? Is the basic.
Sure thing. The senior market used to be a tremendous market for us at one point when the donut hole was much steeper. It's not quite as large today, and it's all but gone. How we can benefit seniors is just a couple of ways. Each year, it seems like more and more of that formulary is shaved down, so there's a lot of drugs not covered for seniors. I know in ophthalmology, there's several eye drops, some that are used for cataracts that are not covered. But in addition to that, a lot of your sleep aid medications, antidepressants, and all ED medication like your Cialis, Viagra is not covered. So if it's an uncovered drug, we certainly can benefit the senior, and when they are in the donut hole. The only caveat to that is now Part D will not accept paper claim submissions. So if it's for a cash flow perspective and somebody's in the donut hole, yeah, we can save them money so they don't have to pay retail, but they're not going to be able to actually send that paper script in to have credit to get them out of the donut hole. If it's towards the end of the year, then that's not a problem. They're probably not going to get out anyway. So, and if it comes down to a decision between, eating or taking their medication, well, we can certainly affect them there and save them money. So I hope that answers your question.
Well, sort of. I guess I'm not as familiar with the donut hole as you are.
Well, Medicare Part D, which is the prescription piece for seniors, has initial coverage. After there's so much of a spend, then you fall into a gap in your coverage, and it's called the donut hole, where you have to come out of pocket. I think it's almost $1,300 that you have to spend retail. Once you reach that next threshold, you go back in under catastrophic coverage, and you're covered for the rest of the year. So if somebody takes very little medication, they may not even hit that donut hole. There are a lot of seniors, though, that are relatively healthy that do not opt for Part D because they may only take one medication or maybe none. So if a senior doesn't have Medicare Part D, then yeah, we can help them in every instance with their prescription medication. But if they have the Part D coverage and they hit the donut hole or they have an uncovered drug, that's where we can benefit them.
Okay, and then what did you say again about electronic versus paper?
Well, no. My point was, back in the day, you can if you used our card while you're in the donut hole, you used to be able to submit a paper claim to your provider, who would count that spend to get out of the donut hole and towards your threshold. Today, Medicare Part D does not accept paper claim submissions. So if you use our card, it can save you money, but you can't use that spend to help get you out of the donut hole.
Okay, I get it. All right.
Got it?
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Rufus, can the military use the cards? Absolutely. Anybody can use our cards. One of our guys is an ex-vet, and he takes 3 or 4 monthly maintenance meds, so he's got VA coverage, and our card is less than his copay through VA on 2 of them. So I hope that answered that question. And guess what? I think that's it. I don't see any more hands raised. Oh, of course. Alicia, you there?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. When you are doing the GBR and you're going in front of, the companies, what's the best way to approach it? To have the employees pay for it or the company?
The company. One of 2 ways. If it's employer provided, it can be the fact that the employer thinks it's a good enough benefit, they're going to pay for it. So it's one form of payment. Or the majority of employer paid is through voluntary payroll deduction. But the employer, once again, is still using a single form of payment, but it's coming out of the employee's pay. That is the majority of the ones that we're seeing coming. And just to let you know, guys, if it is employer paid, you only need to fill 1 form out, and that's the employer form. The rest, if you had 20, 30, 50 people, we just need what's known as a census. So you would just use a regular spreadsheet like an Excel with a column for the name, first and last name, their telephone number, their email address, and their home address. So if you submit that, that'll really save you a lot of time in filling out individual employee forms. Just having one spreadsheet will be much easier and nice and clean. That answer your question?
Yeah. Well,
cool.
Do you mind if I ask one more?
Sure.
What's the most common objection to the GBR, and how do I overcome that?
The most common objection I would think would be that we have dental and vision. But most companies do not provide telemedicine. Some carriers now, insurance carriers, are actually giving that away for free, but the majority of them that have that in place, it's free because there has a per call fee associated with it. So if you're going to call a physician through their telemedicine, you're paying anywhere between $25 and $50 per call. There's really not an objection that I think would make sense. There might be some smoke and mirrors, but I mean, for what this thing is priced at, even when it goes to $19.95, it's an absolute no-brainer. I mean, from an employee benefit perspective, the fact that it can increase employee productivity, have less sick time. I think it's an absolute no-brainer. So if you're getting any pushback, I would think that it's from an HR person who just doesn't want to work harder.
And yes, that is at the Goodwill. I'm having a lot of trouble there with pushback. I'll talk to you about that later.
Yeah, sure. We'll talk about that offline. But that's once again, that's a different world. That's nonprofits, and they're just a little strange.
Well, yeah, but they're still talking about their benefits for their paid employees, though. These are the paid employees.
Right.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, folks. I think that will wrap it up. We kept it just at a half hour tonight, probably a little longer than I thought it would go. But listen, we appreciate you being on. We do this every Monday night, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern. I try to keep it less than a half hour. Tonight it has some good questions, so it ran a little longer. We'll do this again next week, so look for that reminder going out. And until then, just remember that lack of direction, not time, is the problem, because we all have 24 hours a day. Until next week, have a great night, an awesome week, and we'll talk to you then. Take care, everybody.